Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight. Allison Scoberg here. Tonight, we're here with ADDA SR. That's the Attention Deficit Disorder Association, the southern region serving the greater Houston area and around since 1987. We are the Fort Bend County chapter. So we are glad you're here tonight. Tonight's webinar is being recorded. And so following the webinar, probably tomorrow, you guys are going to get an email with tonight's slides, so you don't have to take a note of every single thing. You are going to get a copy of the slides, and you are going to get a link for the recording where you can play back or send off to anybody else. The Attention Deficit Disorder Association, this is typically, and for the last 2 years, I would say it's been about 2.5 years, it's been a parent group, and we have been meeting online typically the last Tuesday of the month, and it's for an hour. It runs from 6:30 to 7:30, so if you're planning your evening. We can't see you and we can't hear you. We do know you're there. And then as we're going through the presentation tonight, we hope that you'll put any questions that you have in the chat box or anything that you'd like to share with the group. We'll be looking at that and reading that out. But the point of this group, this parent group, is to support one another. A lot of families come, they have kids that might have ADHD, ADD, they might be on the autism spectrum. There could be any number of diagnoses. It's not just specifically for ADHD. There's a lot of parent support. Our meetings once a month, we always have a speaker on a specific topic. The topics change every single month. So we hope that you will join us in the future. There's never a huge push to charge people to become members of this organization. Pam Esser, she's kind of the mothership of this organization and has other chapters all across the greater Houston and surrounding areas. And it was important to her when she launched this that it was never a thing that you really had to pay and have a membership to attend the meetings or to get some of the information or get some of the help as a parent that you might need. But I just wanted to say that the organization does need our support. We don't push it, but it's like $40 a year for a family. And they do a conference, an annual conference that's really, really good. And they bring in speakers from all across the country. Really good. I've attended that conference in the past and it is helpful. So when you get this email with the slides and with the recording, there will be information on how you can join that organization so you can be notified of other meetings that are going on that you can participate in, and also the big conference that they have as well. So I hope you'll take a look at that. So tonight, we are happy to have Debbie Elder back with us, and we were just, John, a minute ago, that it was 5 months ago, basically to the day, that she was a speaker for us previously. And I remembered that because her most recent grandbaby was actually born on that same day, and she still spoke to us. So we were definitely grateful for that. But if you haven't heard Debbie before, you're in for a treat. Debbie is awesome. She is very passionate. She is a great speaker, and she has a lot of wisdom, a lot of years of experience in raising her own kids. She runs a private school in Richmond. Debbie, tell us a little bit about your school, just, for people that want to know.
I would be happy to. Thank you so much. Welcome, everyone. My school is called Shady Oak Primary School, and the focus of the school is to represent the community that the children live in. So we have children on the spectrum, we have children with ADD, ADHD, we have other children with physical disabilities, children that are off the charts, very, very bright, others that struggle with learning differences. So we truly represent the community that we're in, and we adhere to our 6 pillars. I'm very big on social emotional learning, which is just as important, in my opinion, as academics. So we stick to those 6 pillars, and those pillars are connection, communication, collaboration, creativity, critical thinking, and problem solving. With those, we can equip your child to step into the world that they will be stepping into, because quite frankly, right now, I can't tell you what your son or daughter will be doing when they reach the workforce, because it's changing rapidly, as we're all aware. So that's a little bit about us. I hope you'll check us out. And if you'd like to come and see me and have a tour, we'd be happy to accommodate you.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. There's so many schools out there, and a lot of times you just don't know unless you start going, and kind of peeking around about what's out there. But a lot of times, a lot of the families in this group, they have struggling learners. School is an issue. And so, kind of working through some of those challenges with your 6 pillars sounds pretty exciting. So tonight, we have all kinds of topics on, how to be a better parent, what about medication, how to get therapy, what about some of those behaviors, we've got issues. We talk about all of those things, but tonight what we're talking about is for you as a parent, and we're really talking about self-care. And this is such an important topic, Debbie, because as a mom, whether you have special needs kids or not, as a mom, we often, or a dad, as parents, we're often putting everybody else's needs ahead of our own. And the self-care is important, and a lot of times it's out the window, right? Like on the scale of things that we have time to handle, that seems to be towards the bottom of the list. And it's really, really important for the parent that we want to be, the person that we want to be, the spouse that we want to be, to take a critical look at the self-care aspect, because it helps us be that best person that we want to be for others. So, Debbie, talk to us. Bring us into the kind of the realm of self-care and where we're going tonight.
Absolutely. This is my most favorite and most requested talk, and I talk a lot and a lot of different subjects. So I'm super excited to be here. I hope you are too. And I think, what happens is, just as Allison was saying, so imagine this is you and this is your life, and you have water in your pitcher, and you get up in the morning and you pour into your children as you make them breakfast, you get them ready for school, you get your spouse at the door, you go to your job or whatever it is that fills your day, you come back, you take them to all their activities, and then you get them fed, you put them to bed, and now it's the end of the day and your pitcher's empty. You've poured in to everyone else. So today, this evening, what I hope to do is help you have strategies to refill your pitcher, because tomorrow morning, you've got to start being able to pour back in again. And I think anytime we're in a servitorial role like we are as parents or as educators, it's really important that we nurture ourselves. And for years, that was always considered to be a little bit selfish, and maybe you need to just be thinking about others. And I will tell you, as a parent, as an educator, as a business owner, if we don't take care of us, we can no longer take care of others. So tonight's all about you. Sit back, get your beverage of choice, and just relax and soak it all in. The first thing I want to talk to you about are basic needs. We have physical needs that are basic, right? We need food, water, shelter, but we also have psychological needs. And if these are not met on a daily basis, we're not happy. And if we're not happy, it's very difficult to serve others. So the first one is love, and it's not romantic love, although that's always enjoyable. This is really a sense of belonging, friendship, caring, involvement. So places you might meet this is maybe in your work, maybe the church where you volunteer or you attend, maybe in any organizations that you're involved in. So think, if I didn't go, who would miss me, right? There I belong. And so you get that need met. You might even meet it with your family, maybe with your very close friends. So it's really that sense of true belonging and feeling a part of something larger than yourself. Next is power. And this is not power over someone else. When I teach this to my students, I have to make that delineation for them. Power in this incident is really about, what are you good at? Maybe you're the best person in your math class. Maybe you're the best architect in the firm. Maybe you're the best financial advisor in the country. What are you good at? What do you at the end of the day go, yeah, that's me. That's where my strengths lie. So it's about, where do you get your sense of importance? What are your skills? What is your recognition? Where does it come from? And what are you truly competent at? Next, we have fun, because you know what? As we get older and as we age, we tend to put that on the back burner. And I'm going to invite you this evening to bring it on forward. And it doesn't have to be a big trip to, Las Vegas. It can be something as simple as enjoying music on the way to work. Or maybe you like to listen to comedy and having some laughs, or snuggling up with a great book to read on a Sunday rainy afternoon. What are you doing to have some fun? Maybe it's enjoying live music with friends. So really encourage you to ensure that you're having some fun. And then lastly, you need freedom. You need freedom and autonomy to choose how you're going to meet your other needs. When you meet these needs, you're happy. So at the end of the day, I want to challenge you to think back through your day and identify, what did I do today for love? How did I meet my need for power? Did I have any fun? And how did I do that with my freedom? And freedom for me really became apparent. I have two daughters and they are 19 months apart. I am Canadian, and at the point when I had my daughters, I was living in Calgary, Alberta. My second daughter was born in November. So it's cold, lots of snow, and I would get one daughter dressed to go out on a walk, my older one, and by the time I went to get the baby ready, the older one has taken her hat and mittens off because she's hot, right? So I would have some days that were a little challenging and frustrating, and my husband would come home and I couldn't hand those babies to him fast enough. I just needed a little freedom, right? I just needed to have a bath or maybe go for a walk or just have a little Debbie time. And so that made it really clear to me that when I could identify what my needs were and meet them in a way that didn't interrupt others from meeting their needs, which is really, really important here, that I could feel better about myself, come back, rest, and ready to sort of step back into motherhood and to being the best wife that I could be. So just keep these basic needs in mind. Those are like your recipe for happiness, and checking in on a daily basis until you kind of get a rhythm will really help. The other thing, don't be surprised if one of those areas you're kind of lacking in right now. It's okay. I've taught this to thousands, literally, of people around the country and in Canada. And it's not uncommon for people, when I ask them to stand up, when they meet, they know what they do for love, power, fun. There's always somebody sitting down at different times because they can't even think of anything that they do in those areas. So if you're struggling with that, don't ever hesitate to reach out to me. We can brainstorm over the phone, over Zoom, and I can help you identify maybe some areas that might help you meet those basic needs. Next thing I want to talk about is self-talk. If you're not familiar with that term, it means how you talk to yourself. And I know from my years of counseling and coaching, so many people say things to themselves they would never say to another human being, right? We can be very cruel to ourselves. So in order to help you with that, here's some questions that you can ask. First off, is it true? Sometimes we beat ourselves up over things and it's not even true. Sometimes we have these limiting beliefs or these ideas or perceptions about ourselves that nobody else would describe us that way. So ask yourself, is it true? Does it serve my best interest? If I'm feeling this about what I'm thinking and saying, how do I change that perspective? So I was working with a client recently who was struggling with some self-confidence, and we just reframed some of the stories. And that really helped her to get a different perspective on what she was doing and to step in with confidence. So it went instead from, I think I might be hurting my patients when I do this, to, oh my gosh, I'm not hurting them. I'm actually helping them to detect a possible problem. Therefore, I am serving them in a way that allows me to feel good about what I'm doing, so I can now step in with confidence. Does it advance and protect our health? I don't know about you, but when I don't feel good, I don't show up the best way that I could in this world. So I really protect my health. I'm very careful about what I eat, careful about what I put into my body, how much sleep I get, how much regular exercise I get, because I'm worth it and you're worth it. So make sure you're keeping that machine alive and well. We take really good care of our vehicles and sometimes we neglect ourselves. So I want to encourage you to really make sure you're advancing your health. And then, does it get me what I want? Again, without permitting others from getting what they want. So just something to keep in mind. And when you're clear, when you have clarity about what you want, it's amazing the opportunities that will open up for you to get what you want. What happens with us, and I say us as a human sort of being, is we tend to focus on what we don't want. I can't tell you how many times I ask people, what do you want? Well, I don't want to be late and I don't want to be fat. I know that. But what do you want? They're like, oh, I hadn't really thought about that. So I have an exercise for you to help you with this in just a little bit. I'm going to give you some true strategies that you can implement as soon as we're done on this webinar. That's going to help you to increase your ability to care for yourself. Next slide, please. There we go. Sometimes you have to be happier. You have to act. Handle the situation like the person you want to be will handle it. It's not a fake it till you make it, but it's really about really cognitively looking and reflecting on, okay, what are some things in my life that I could improve upon? My students every day write a reflection journal at the end of the day. They have to, for me, talk about 2 things that went well that day and 2 things they either could augment or improve upon moving forward. And I think what happens in our societies, we're like hamsters on a wheel, right? We get going and going and going, and we just do. We don't stop to reflect to see, is it really working for me? I know that made me happy 6 months ago, but it doesn't feel good anymore. So I encourage you to take a little time to just really reflect on, is my life working and moving in the direction that I want, right? Stephen Covey talked about putting your ladder of success along the wrong wall, and you get to the top. Yeah, you're successful, you're the CEO, but you've gotten divorced from your spouse, your children are not talking to you. So you really got to take some time to really reflect, step back and look and evaluate at what's working and what's not working. Move towards meeting your needs without stopping other people from meeting theirs. So I'll tell you how you can use this in your life. 9 years ago, when I purchased my school, I also inherited the staff that had been there before. Luckily, I knew a lot of the women because they lived in my community and or I'd worked with them before. And I remember saying to my new assistant, who was not new, but new to me, I said, now tell me, why do you do this? And she goes, oh, I'll tell you why we do that. For all these reasons. I'm like, all right. And I'll say, well, why do you do this? And she's like, you know, Debbie, I'm not, it's just what we've always done. I'm not really sure why we do that. And I said, okay, well, I'm going to make a note of that. I'm going to think about it, and I'm going to make a decision if it's something I want to continue moving forward, right? Sometimes we just keep doing things because that's what we've always done. And I know I am not the same woman I was in my 20s, my 30s, my 40s. I'm going to stop there, but I've changed and evolved along the way. And I know you have too. So give yourself the opportunity to step into that change and to reflect again. What's working for you now, and what are some things you'd like to make maybe some adjustments to. And there's roadblocks to happiness. So mindless living, there's been a lot of talk over the last 10 years about being present, being in the moment, and there's a lot of truth to that. Not easy to do, but it has some real value if you can truly be present. So some things that are sort of roadblocks are when you kind of zone out. How many mornings have you put the milk in the cupboard and the cereal in the refrigerator, right? Where you're so in your head thinking about things. My husband has learned to not enter the bathroom when I'm getting ready in the morning because, yeah, I look like I'm putting makeup on, but I'm really planning my day. I'm deep in thought, and I can't tell you how many times he's walked in and really startled me, kind of scared me. So that's when I'm doing a lot of thinking, and I'm really trying to use my time wisely to plan for my day. So if you can be mindful of what sort of practices serve you, you can continue to build on those. You know, how many times have we driven home down 59 and all of a sudden we're home, we're like, I don't really remember getting off 59. I don't remember exactly how I came, because we're other places at the time. So just to be aware of that. This is simply a little reminder. I know we all know this, but we also get very caught up in things that are going on around us. So again, for self-care, take some time for you to just really be present in the moment. I want to encourage you to have margins. So when I was in school up in Canada, we had margins in our notebook, very similar to this one. Everything to the left of the red line and above the final line on the top of the sheet was for the teacher to write in. If we wrote in there, I don't know, in Canada, we got in big trouble. We were not allowed to be in there. Those were protected margins. And I think what's happened in our world right now is we've pushed those margins out and kind of lost a little bit of that balance. So what happens is we get feelings of overwhelm and anxiety and anxious, and you've taken on so many duties that here you are at midnight cooking brownies for the PTA, which is really the last thing you want to do. It's okay to say no. It's okay to protect your margins. It's okay on a Sunday night to look at your week and you go, you know what? It's full. I always tell my kids when we're working on research projects or planning out events, guys, it's due on the 30th, but I want you to have it ready on the 27th. Let's give our days, a few days, 3 or 4 days buffer. You don't know. What if you get sick? What if something happens? What if your computer goes down? There's just so many things out of our control, but we feel more in control when we can plan and sort of bring forward a system that allows us to earmark those things so we feel that we have a backup plan if we need it. And it's really always nice to finish a project ahead of deadline. So teaching our students that's important.
Debbie, I think when it comes to margins, I think too on our kids and our overscheduled kids, there's literally some families that are truly running every night of the week, 7 days a week. between the practices and things like that, because their kids are in so many different things. And really, ultimately, now it's true, we do like our kids to be busy, to be part of something, to belong to something, to be a part of a team, to give something, to be a part. But that overscheduling of our kids makes us running ragged as well. And it's really not that great for them. And so, I think from a margin perspective as a parent, I know that's one thing that we looked at of, okay, pick one thing. What is the thing that you want to do? We're not going to do 10 things at once. The next thing could be the next thing, but we're not doing it all at once. And so finding that margin, with our kids and with the kids' activities and your activities, if they're interfering, where, okay, maybe you go to church and you like church, but now you never ever go to church because there's practice every Sunday, or there's a game, or there's something, or whatever it is. If there's a dinner club that you've been going to for years, but now because of soccer you don't, those are other things that, finding that balance and that margin with that, I think matters as well.
That's a really good point. And I know for us, when we were raising our daughters, we had a date night every week, because I believe strongly if the marriage isn't strong, the family's not strong. It's, so we made that a priority to keep connected. And our rule was, when we were out on our date nights, but we didn't talk about the kids. One of the things that we've also implemented at our school is we strongly encourage parents to ask their providers, whether it's speech or occupational therapy or any of the therapies, that they're welcome to come and do it on our campus during school hours. I want my students to go home and be kids and go play on their bikes and just, allow them to entertain themselves without a screen. This overscheduling leads to, and I can tell you because I ran 12 middle and high schools, those kids don't know anything about who they are. They've lost their opportunity for self-awareness because they've been shuffled and scheduled to go to all these events. There's no time to just be. And it's okay to be bored, and it's okay to figure out things that entertain you by yourself. So parents, you have my permission and Allison's to really review your schedule and see, your kids miserable because they're exhausted, right? So really weigh that. You don't have to do what the Joneses do. You have to do what's good for you and your family.
And I think that's key, and it always starts early. I talk about it's preschool. It honestly, it starts the comparisons of the Joneses and what everybody else is doing, but becoming that person that is okay with saying no and feeling great about it. Like, we actually have friends that run and gun all the time. That's all they do. And they're so overscheduled, we hardly ever see them, and we don't envy that. Like, we miss them, but we're thankful that we're not that way. Right. Like, so it's okay to say no, and it's okay to be intentional about that choice. And I totally encourage it.
No, that's an excellent point. Thank you so much. Laughter is really important. And there's some physiological things that happen that can really allow you to feel so much better. So really, I encourage you to, I love to listen or watch comedy. I really enjoy stand-up comedians. And so I purposely put myself in situations where there's comedy. I don't like to go to movies where I'm going to cry or where it's a lot of thinking involved, right? So it's paying attention to what brings you joy and then finding more of that. And again, giving yourself permission, because when mama is happy, everybody's happy. Same with dad. So it's really good to determine for you what brings you laughter. One of the reasons I work with elementary school students is because they are so engaging and so fun. I laugh. The average 4-year-old laughs 500 times a day, and the average adult laughs 4 times a day. So there you go. So hang out with some young kids and laugh. Just enjoy life.
For sure. We've had a few more people that have just joined, and I just wanted to say welcome. We're glad you're here. This is being recorded, so if you missed some slides, you're going to get a copy of the slides. You're going to get a copy of the recording. And tonight's topic is on self-care. So anyway, thanks for joining.
And welcome. We can go to the next slide, Allison. So how do you foster a happier life, right? What's the recipe for that? So you got to like yourself. Self-esteem comes from what you do, not from what others say about you. Their opinions of you really is none of your business. So you want to make sure you're doing things, you're setting realistic goals, you're using SMART goals, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit, that you're optimistic. That glass can be half full at all times. And I've got some tools to help you stay optimistic, stay active, right? Not overactive like we just talked about, but go for a walk, right? Get on your bicycle, do things to allow your body to continue moving, because when you're hurting, when you have pain, it's really difficult to be happy. Stay in control, get it really clear on what works for you and what doesn't work for you, and stay in your lane. I know what I'm good at and I stick to that. And I also know what I don't do well, and I hire people or I find others to help me in those areas. But that comes from years of determining what I am good at and being realistic. And for me, journaling and keeping track, because I'll forget. I'm busy. I know you're busy. Volunteering feels really great anytime you can make someone else feel better about themselves. One of the things we do at our school is we end each day with a compliment circle, which is very, very powerful. And people who don't even know that we do that will come into on our campus and talk about the energy. And the energy is upbeat, because if you're in a compliment circle at the end of each day, what that looks like is you're in a physical circle, you don't know which direction it's going to go, and you don't know who's going to be standing next to you. So you've got to find something about everybody in your class in case they're next to you to compliment on it. We don't do sort of platitudes. We're looking for, today I noticed blank, and what that tells me about you is. And those are very specific things that you have had to have caught, visualized, seen, maybe even been involved in, that you get a chance now to let that person know. We do it for two reasons. One, it feels really good to give a compliment, but I also want my students to learn how to receive a compliment and not to discount it. It's not uncommon, oh, you look great today. And I'm like, oh, I got this dress at Walmart. We tend to deflect. And I want you just to smile and say thank you, and give that person a compliment, or hold the door for somebody, or buy that person behind you a Starbucks. Yeah, it's good for them, but it's really good for you. Resolve inner conflict. If there's stuff going on, that just eats at you. And I know you know that. So take some time if you need to get some professional help, if you need to just go and confront the person. Just because you forgive somebody doesn't mean you've forgotten what's going on. But forgiveness is really for you. So if there's people in your life that you need to forgive, I strongly encourage you to take the time to get to the point where you can do that. And then practice idle conversation. Talk to the person behind you in line at the grocery store. Find out what's going on with them. It helps to have a happier life. It just keeps everything real. And it's very entertaining and kind of fun. And you might learn something new, which is always fun. Here's some daily actions. I told you I would give you implementable tools. So we're going to go through these. These will allow you to intentionally set your days. So once you know what it is you're looking for, now you can set it with intention. I know for me, I get up very early in the morning because that works for my schedule. I really like my time. I get up at 4:30, so that gives me from 4:30 till I leave the house just before 7 to really, I always said to one of the kids, I just need to get my head on in the morning. And the face on this first grader was quite funny, because I think she really was thinking for a hot minute that I really had to put my head on. But for me, getting clarity in the morning, I feel as the owner of my school that I really set the tone, both with my teachers and with my students. So I need to show up optimistic and happy and willing to tackle any issues that come up with decisiveness and confidence. And so all of that doesn't just happen, at least not for me. So I'm very intentional about it. So I wanted to share with you some of the things that I do. Now, don't for a hot minute think I do all these things every morning. There just isn't enough time for that. I will cycle through these. And sometimes for certain periods of my life, I need more of one than the other. But some of these are daily practices, and some of them are things, as I mentioned, that I'll cycle through. So we'll start with scripting. And scripting is somewhere where you set, so I will look at my calendar and see what's going on for the day. We can go to the next slide, Allison, and I will decide how those events are going to unfold. So I've been a professional speaker for many, many years. And for 5 of those years, I spoke every Saturday to anywhere from 800 to 1,500 teachers on anything from how to deal with children on the spectrum to classroom management. And so I would, when I arrived at the city that I was speaking at, I would get to the hotel, I would go to my room, unload my stuff, and then I would go downstairs and I would ask to see the room I'm going to be speaking in the next morning. I didn't care if there was a wedding going on or a meeting. They always were very good about letting me just sort of sneak my head in. They would tell me where the stage was going to be. And then I would go back up to my room and I would visualize happy people leaning forward in their seat, listening to what I'm saying, taking notes, enjoying it. And I found that's what I received the next day. And so there's a lot of power in that visualization and in scripting. So in scripting, I would write out my day. So it was, and then you put in the date on September 27th, the beautiful, timeless, filled with vitality, prosperity, whatever you need to hear that day to lift your spirits up so you are being your best self. You would include your name and then talk about what's going to happen. The meetings we had today were all effective. Everyone understood. Communication was at an all-time high. What do you want your day to look like? And intend it, and then follow through on it. And this is incredibly, incredibly powerful. It's one of the most favorable things that I do because the results I get are amazing. So scripting is a great tool that you can use. Another, and I did this with my middle and high schoolers when they first joined us before we set goals. So a wish list is where you get very clear on what you want, as opposed to what I mentioned earlier, what you don't want. So imagine for a minute that Aladdin has walked into the room you're in, he puts down his lamp, he rubs it, and out comes the genie. And this genie says, oh, no, 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 you don't get 3 wishes. You get 101. The caveat is you need to write them down. And I will tell you, when you do this, and I strongly encourage you to do so, the first 30 to 35 are fairly easy because they tend to be material items. Like I want a new car, I'd like a new house, I'd like to put a pool in, I'd like to do landscaping, all of those. And then when those are out of your system and they're on the paper, now you got to really think about, who do I want to hang with? Where do I want to travel to? What are some things I want to accomplish in my career? What do I wish for? Once you've completed your wish list, I want you to put it away for 2 weeks and just let it set. Then I want you to pull it out in 2 weeks and I want you to check, because there'll be 10 items in your wish list that you're going to be able to cross off as you have already received. And why does that work? Because once we decide what we want, our reticular activated system, which is a system in our brain, will start to find opportunities for us. So for example, a couple of years ago, I bought a car. I am not really into vehicles. If it gets me to and from where I need to go, I'm happy. And so I'm not really aware of all the hot new cars on the road. So I get my new car and I'm driving, and all of a sudden, guess what I see? So many other cars like mine. I had never even noticed them before. Didn't even know it was a car. So that's how that system works. So once you plant your 101 wishes, all of a sudden, you're going to see opportunities to fulfill those, for allowing them to manifest. And so it really helps you to get clarity and to start working on your self-awareness. The other thing that we use this wish list for is you'll start to develop, you'll see, they'll be exposed, categories of things that you want. That's what you use now to set your goals. So we'll go on and talk about smart goal setting after we talk about gratitude. So gratitude is what you can do once you appreciate what you have, once you are aware of what you want. So when you keep a gratitude journal, as you practice gratitude, you simply write 5 things you're grateful for each day. My challenge to you is that you look for 5 different things each day to have gratitude for. So when I brought my daughters home, I homeschooled my daughters. My youngest is hearing impaired, and that was the initial, we need to look into this. Is public school really going to work for us? And then as I spent more time on campus and substitute taught, I realized the lack of efficiency in that system was the major motivator for us to homeschool. So when we got and started our homeschooling, I said to one of my daughters, so tell me, Natasha, is that glass, just describe it to me. I had filled it with water to the halfway point, and she told me it was half empty. And that's when we started a gratitude journal. She was in the 3rd grade. And we do this with our students at school. We also keep victory journals. And a victory journal is very, very helpful, especially as we as our children start to hit the tweens and teen years, when mom and dad's appreciation for what they've done starts to wane a little bit, right? It's like, oh, mom, you just said that because you love me. Well, it's true, but what you're doing is also true. But if they kept a journal themselves where they write, yeah, today I got the running home run that allowed our team to win the tournament, that's kind of cool. And when it's in your own handwriting, it has a lot of validity. So 2 weeks from now, when your child's having a bad hair day, you can say, hey, pull out your victory journal. And they pull it out and they can leaf through all these awesome things that they've done that are for reals because they're in their handwriting. They've determined that those are awesome things that they've done. So keeping a victory journal, and maybe if it's for you as an adult, it's keeping those emails from your boss saying how great you are, or from clients or customers about the wonderful service you provided, because there's going to be days where people don't think we're so wonderful and we start to beat ourselves up. This is living proof that you are as amazing as you know you can be. And so it's a great reminder. So victory journals, gratitude journals are great tools that will allow you to step into your awesomeness. Daily affirmations, if we input the positives, the I can do it, garbage in, garbage out, right? So we want to make sure that we're affirming our awesomeness in ways that land. And I'm sure many of you watched the Saturday Night Live show where the gentleman whose name I can't remember right now, but says it and kind of makes fun of himself. If you say an affirmation and you don't believe it, it's going to have a counter effect to what you want. So you want to start with, I am beginning to lose weight and reach my goal, right? Make it very believable for you. Make sure you leave it in the positive and in the present, right? If you say, I am going to lose 10 pounds, okay, well, we'll do that, but we're not going to do it today because today we're having ice cream. So you want to make sure you put it in the present and that it's something that you truly believe in. If your main goal is up here and you're not kind of there yet, keep your affirmation here and stair step it up. We can go to the next slide. So some tips to writing them, as I mentioned. Oh, can you go back one? There we go. Keep it upbeat, keep it short, and keep it applicable to you. And if you're not sure, there's lots of places on the internet where you can download, 150 affirmations. That's great. And that if you're brand new to affirmations, that's a great place to start. But I want to encourage you from experience that when you start to write your own affirmations, I have them on my mirror in the bathroom so that as I'm brushing my teeth, I'm affirming myself. It just helps to kind of internally build yourself up so that you can go out and face that world, right? And sort of remind yourself of your own greatness and your own power and the abilities that you bring to this world. We all have purpose. And when you can identify what your purpose is, when you can identify your strengths, you can compensate for your weaknesses. And as I mentioned earlier, you stay in that lane where you stay in your purpose. When I first started my businesses, I've had several, as an entrepreneur, you end up wearing all the different hats. And as you grow your business, you start to unload the hats that didn't quite fit so well because they weren't really your strength. When we can stay in our strengths, things are much easier. Things happen. The wheels are like greased and stuff seems to move so much easier and so much quicker. So writing affirmations is a great way to affirm what it is you're trying to accomplish.
Debbie, can you talk to us about, I know that this is for parents and this is so good, such good information. On feeding some of this stuff, you talk about what you're doing in your school with these kids on a daily basis and, on these things and kind of building. But as parents, a lot of our kids, clearly they struggle. And they're super clear on what they're not good at. And because they're being told all the time, whether it's by friends, whether it's at school, whether it's at home, we're all human. We all get tired, right? So do you have any, because these are good and these are good for ourselves, but do you have any tips on implementing these with our kids? Because I do agree how important this is, especially when they're going into those, scary years, the tweens and teen years. Having their cup full when they're going into that is going to be so much better coming out of it. So do you have any tips on that?
Yeah, so I started gratitude journaling when I taught preschool with my 4-year-olds. Now, of course, they didn't write it, but at the end of the day, we talked about what we were grateful for, and I wrote it on a big poster, and we just kept writing those every day. So we taught them to be aware of things to be grateful for. when you have awareness, you have appreciation, then you have joy. And I think joy is super important to getting through this life because it throws lots of curveballs at us. And anytime you're going to introduce something new like this, you've got to sell it, parents. You've got to be enthusiastic. You've got to be able to point out the positives and why this is going to be great. And let's go to the store and we can pick out whatever journal you feel connected to. And I'll get you whatever kind of pen you really want to work with. And we're going to do this. When I did my goals with my students, my high school and middle school students, I sat with them. I never asked my kids to do something I wouldn't do. So I sat with them and they wrote out their goals and I wrote out my goals. We did it together. I led by example and I modeled the behavior. And that really went a long way for me validating why I'm asking them to do it. So I would pick one of these. So if your child kind of is a Debbie Downer, maybe you want to start with a gratitude journal. If they feel that they're not keeping up with their friends or that they're not as good or they don't think they're producing at the same level, then maybe a victory journal is a great place to start. Life scripting and daily scripting is also very powerful. And again, if your children are young, there's no reason why you can't say, what do you think your day is going to look like today? What would a perfect day look like? I'm going to write this out for you. Oh, so you get on the school bus, you get to sit by your best friend, your teacher welcomes you, she's super nice, you give her a big smile. Like, what does it look like for them? Because once you can identify it, you can go make it happen, even if you're 6 or 16. So I think just really involving this could be, I know I'm big on family meetings. This could be something you introduce at a family meeting and then you ask the kids, how do you want to implement this? Do you want to do gratitude journals in the morning and talk about the day before? Do you want to do them at the end of the day? What seems to work for you? And anytime you can involve your child in the way something is going to be processed or completed, they take ownership. They're much more likely to have a lot less pushback than if it's just being told. It's just, none of us like to be micromanaged. I especially don't. So I think keeping that in mind when you're introducing new things to your children, and then as you're going through it, saying to them, wow, I just can't believe look at how far you've come and your ability to be very grateful for things. You started off with, I'm grateful for my dog, my mother, my cat. And now you're talking about being grateful for the postman who's dropped a letter from your grandmother, about being grateful for your teacher who acknowledged the hard work that you've been doing. They really can get very sophisticated with this very, very quickly. And I'm telling you, it's amazing. I watch my first graders do it right now, and it's powerful, powerful stuff.
I'm so glad. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that with us. So talk about the effective habits.
Yes. So you want to start small. You want to track your changes because if you can't measure it, you don't know if you're making any steps. And then one of the things that James Clear, who is a great author, if you've not read any of his stuff, I highly recommend it. He talks about effective habits. And one of the things he says to his readership is, okay, pick a goal. Imagine it 6 months down the road and you weren't successful. You didn't make it. Now I want you to think back, what were the roadblocks? What were the challenges? What prevented you from reaching your goal? And now that you know what those are, you can get over, get under, get around any of those challenges, right? So it really helps you to get to that level of success. Have an accountability partner. I, for years, worked out with different people because, so the Debbie who at night thinks it's a great idea to get up at 4:30 in the morning. She's like, look at all the stuff you can get done. You get your workout in, you get all your scripting and everything you're working on, you get that done. You leave for work at 7, you're refreshed, you're ready to go. But I can tell you the Debbie at 4:30 in the morning sometimes doesn't agree with the Debbie in the evening. And so in order to get over that initially, I had to have a partner who I would not leave. There was one lady I walked with, every morning. And we were walking buddies. We weren't necessarily friends. We didn't do things outside of walking, but I would be mortified if I left her at the end of the street high and dry. So no matter what went on the night before, I did not miss that date to meet with her to go walking. And so having an accountability partner can really help you. Once you kind of get in your groove, you might not need it, but it's always nice to have a buddy to do things with. And habits produce the success you want, right? Aristotle said it very, very clearly. It's success comes because of the habits that you do. And so making sure that there's things in your life that are serving you. If you're coming home after work and, losing hours because you're on your phone or on your screen or laying on the couch watching soap operas, whatever is, if it's not serving you, then perhaps it's time to look at those habits and to help your children to evaluate their habits in a way that is not necessarily critical, for not you being critical to them, but giving them the opportunity, like I talked about earlier, to reflect. I really want to be a great baseball player. And so I had a student who wanted to do that. And I said, oh, so how do you make that happen? What do you do? They're like, what are you talking about? I said, well, do you have, like, when you go home after school, you have a pitching buddy? Are you going to batting cages? She's like, no. And I said, well, if you truly want to be a baseball player that is recognized for your skill set, you're going to have to develop habits to get you to that goal. And so effective habits can really propel you much quicker to achieve what it is you're looking to achieve in life. So look at your habits and make sure you like them. Here's the goal. Sorry, I had my order all backwards. So after you've done your wish list, it's a great opportunity, as I mentioned, to pull categories out to set goals. When I ran my middle and high schools, we had 5 academic goals, 5 personal goals that we wrote every morning in our goal book. And when we were finished writing on our goals, we wrote out a daily affirmation. And that was just how we started our day. Why do we do that? Because just like this picture shows, it targeted us on what we were working towards. It allowed us to really focus on what it is we are trying to accomplish. So in order for goals to be different than a wish, they have to have these 5 components. So they want to be specific, measurable, action-orientated, and achievable, relevant, realistic, and time-specific. So what does that mean? So if we look at dieting, just about every adult I know has been on a diet at some point in their life. So we have to get specific. I can't say to you, I think I'm going to lose some weight. You're going to be like, good luck with that plan. That isn't a plan. That's a wish. But if I get specific, right, I get measurable, I hop on the scale, I'm like, oh yeah, we got some pounds to lose. You get very specific about how much and how are you going to take action to do that, right? So it's not achievable for me to drop 20 pounds by Saturday night to go to my friend's wedding, but it is actionable to decide that instead of lying on the couch and eating bonbons at night, I'm going to join a gym with an accountability partner and start taking action to achieve my goal. Then it has to be relevant and realistic, right? You have to look at, you're not going to leave tomorrow and fly over and climb Mount Everest. You need equipment. You need certain things in order for allowing you to do that. With making sure that it's time specific. And here's the one I want to caution you about. When you're setting a goal, oftentimes we have like a ballpark of when we think we can achieve it. But if you've never lost 10 pounds, maybe you're one of those lucky people that's never had to deal with weight, and now you've hit middle age and oh my gosh, where'd that come from? So you've never had a diet before, and now you're like, well, I think I can lose 10 pounds in 3 months. You don't know. Don't beat yourself up if instead of losing 10, you lose 8.5 in the time frame. Have you been successful? Heck yeah, 8.5 pounds lighter. That's really successful. I had a student who wanted to finish middle school in February. That was his goal. He truly was only in the 6th grade, but because of the accelerated program we used, that was a very achievable goal. We had the kids take the PSAT. He was very bright. He did very well. So I pulled him off regular schoolwork and we prepped for the SAT that he could take it, because there were so many advantages to a child that young taking an SAT and scoring well on it. So we did all this, and his mother called me so upset with me. In fact, she referred to me as the goal queen. And she said, I can't believe you had Alex change his goals. And I said, well, can I explain to you why I did that? And I explained to her all the benefits, and then she was fine. But she was so upset with me. Hang on 2 seconds. That I pulled him off one of his goals. He ended up reaching that goal only a month later, and he killed the SAT. So be flexible, be easy on yourself, but hold yourself accountable at the same time. Excuse me. Prayer and meditation are great practices. They can be done. They don't have to be done in a special place. You can pray, you can meditate, you can do walking meditations. It's just about quieting your mind, getting clear on what you want, giving thanks, and working that into your daily plan, because there's a lot of peaceful feelings that come from that. And having a practice of prayer meditation has proven scientifically to have so many benefits for you, your mindset, your body. When you talk about mindset, looking at a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset. And if that's a new concept to you, a growth mindset believes I can do this, I can learn. A fixed mindset believes that, nope, this is all I got, can't change it. This is as smart as I'll ever be. This is the only tools I have. So when you have a growth mindset, it's I can't do it yet, but I have resources, people, things I can do to learn or to be what I want. So just be aware of the mindset of yourself and possibly your children. If, like Allison was saying, if they've been kind of beat down, it may be something to work on to help them build that growth mindset and let them know and remind them, which is why journaling is so important. Look at when you first started this journal, one of your big accomplishments was getting to first base. But if we fast forward, 3 months later, you hit a home run. That's progress. That's because you've been practicing and focusing on it. That carries a lot of weight. And that's I couldn't hit a home run yet, but now I did. So setting some specific goals and knowing what it is and tracking those behaviors, because then they prove it to themselves. It's not just mommy and daddy saying how great they are. They have the proof.
And I just wanted to add mindfulness on this. A therapy, a DBT therapy, they talk a lot about mindfulness, and there's a whole bunch of things on the internet. There's things that you can look at, lots of books on mindfulness too, that can also be helpful in this space as well. Well, here we are, Debbie. Your information, and you are always so wonderful and so insightful, but encouraging, because sometimes we actually do just need a little bit of encouragement, and you have certainly brought that tonight. Of when everything else, I often talk at our house of wheels on the bus, wheels off the bus, and a lot of times wheels are off the bus. Okay, and when you add the things that are going on with some of our kids, and you add as parents, all the hats that we're wearing, the plates that we're twirling, it's sometimes a lot. So I am just thankful for each and every one of you that have taken the time to be intentional, to be here tonight, to say, hey, I need a little bit. I need to fill my cup up to be the best person that I can be. And I know that I personally have taken that away tonight from your talk. So, Debbie, as always, I would just like to thank you for being with us tonight. You always have such wonderful topics. She has talked before, and I think this lives on the Consolidated Planning Group YouTube channel. She's spoke about the nurtured heart approach, which is really good. It's a lot of kind of parenting tips. And so when we're parenting challenging children, the nurtured heart approach is something that is really, really great. That's something that, again, I personally found helpful. Do you have any talks coming up on nurtured heart that you want to share, any dates or times with anybody if they want to catch that? Or do you have that on your website where they could catch that?
We do have an event coming up on November 5th. We are currently polling our parents to see what particular areas of interest they might have. And if depending on what we hear, I'll let you know. We just sent the poll out yesterday. So, but Nurtured Heart training, I don't have a date yet, but if there's interest, I'm happy to put a date together. It's we are a Nurtured Heart school. So just real quick, Nurtured Heart is, there's an acceptable line of behavior. And when our children, our spouse, our students stay above the line, if we're really honest, we typically don't say anything because that's what's expected, right? But if they step below the line and they do something wrong, or they bring home that spelling test and they get 2 wrong, as parents, what do? Well, we want to teach them in real time, right then, how to spell those 2 words. Right. So what Nurture Heart does is it takes that and it turns it upside down, and all of our energy and specific talk goes to what they're doing right and what we want repeated. And it's a whole languaging that is incredibly effective. And I can just share something really quick. I hired 2 new teachers this year, which is not easy to do, folks. Oh my goodness. And they're new to our program. Nurtured Heart is new to them. And my students have come to me and said, Mrs. Elder, you need to teach Nurtured Heart. Like, they miss it. They're so used to having that feedback about what they're doing well and how great they are, because it truly lands when it's said using the proper vocabulary and verbiage that the Nurtured Heart approach teaches. So if there's an interest in that, I am happy to run that. So as of right now, I don't have any dates though.
And yeah, just let us know. And honestly, Debbie, if you get a date, if you let us know, we're happy to push it out to all the families that normally attend so they can attend your event. We're happy to do that. But I would say, I've listened to this, several times, and it's good in taking a step back as a parent, that you're not a yeller. You're not that frustrated parent that is beating the kid that's already down. Okay. Pushing them down further. They're already there. They're already acutely aware of what their shortcomings are and what they're not good at. They're told all the time. It's been from way back. And like you said, kind of turning that, upside down and turning that around, and being that calm in their storm and bringing them back to center, even when we are frustrated as a parent or, there are things. So it's just really good. So I just wanted to encourage people, if you don't know what it is, check into it. Debbie's going to let us know what the next date is. Maybe we can schedule another Nurture Heart for the ADDA group. We'd love to do that. But thanks everyone for attending. Again, if you checked in late, we are going to send you a copy of tonight's slides. You are going to get a copy of this recording, and I hope everybody has a wonderful evening tonight. Thank you again, Debbie, for sharing with us tonight. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Bye now.